Federal government finally pays delayed January salaries. PDP governors urge President Tinubu to urgently address insecurity and cost of living crisis. Naira reaches the all-time low against the dollar as volatility continues. On the international scene, Nigerian military leader rules out return to ECOWAS bloc as talks continue. Hello again and welcome to the Trust TV News Update at this hour. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thank you for joining us. And now the news in full. The Academic Staff Union of Universities has said the federal government is still using the Integrated Personnel Payroll Information System to pay lecturers' salaries. National President ASU, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, in an interview complained that the federal government had yet to implement its promise to remove tertiary institutions from the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System platform. Argued that the February salary was paid through IPPIS. In December 2023, the federal government announced that tertiary institutions, including universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, had been exempted from the platform. The IPPIS, unveiled in 2006, is a government initiative aimed at streamlining payroll for government, ministries, departments, and agencies. It was later extended to universities and colleges, but was vehemently rejected by the workers who embarked on a protracted strike in 2020 and 2021. They complained of several irregularities associated with IPPIS. Oshodeke added that none of the union's demands had been fulfilled. Power distribution companies that are performing below stipulated standards in the Nigeria electricity supply industry are going to lose 50% of their operating expenditures, the federal government declared on Monday. It made the declaration through the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission at the first NESI stakeholders meeting of 2024 in Lagos, stressing that the individual performances of the DISCOs shall be examined on a case-by-case basis going forward. Officially, Nigeria has 11 power distribution companies that supply electricity to over 12 million registered power users across the country. The successor DISCOs were privatized in November 2013, alongside the power generation companies that produce the electricity supplied to the national grid. The Transmission Company of Nigeria transmits the power produced by the GENCOs to the DISCOs for onward distribution to users nationwide. But the sector has been plagued by a series of concerns, top among which is the issue of poor liquidity and complaints around the inability of DISCOs to make adequate financial remittances to the industry to guarantee power production. The People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has decried the rising cost of living in Nigeria, saying the nation is sliding down the road of Venezuela's economic turmoil under President Bola Tinubu's watch. Chairman of the forum and Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, said this in an interview with newsmen shortly after reading the communique of a meeting of the forum held at the Oyo State Governor's Lodge at Sokoro, Abuja on Monday.
The Bauchi State Governor described the PDP as the most democratic and experienced party in the country to address the challenges facing it. The forum decried the falling value of the naira and requested monetary and fiscal authorities to find appropriate solutions.
Yes, we have been working together with the federal government since the inception of this administration. And the rising cost of living is not only under the purview of the federal government, it is their responsibility. We have been partnering even as opposition to make sure that we don't bring any distraction. But certainly the monetary policies and the economic policies rest here. And we can see that we know the majority of Nigerians live in the states. And so we are doing so much across party lines on a bipartisan basis within the Nigerian Government Forum, within the National Economic Council, to make sure that we cushion the effect of this, some of these policies that have far-reaching consequences on our people. Like ensuring that we reach out to our people and, of course, have some food reserve in a manner that will have provide some support to our people.
The meeting reviewed that the state of the nation and noted the hardship being faced by Nigerians as a result of the economic and security challenges facing the nation. Those who attended the meeting were Governors Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, Fubara of Rivers State, and the Forum Vice President Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State. Others include Caleb Muftang of Plateau, Dada Lawa of Zamfara, Kefes Agu of Taraba State, Governor Baseki of Edo State, and the Deputy Governor of Delta State, Monday John, who represented the state governor.
A protest has rocked Damaturu, the Yobe state capital, by the Association of Tricycle Riders over what they called extortion by Yobe State Road Transport Agency. According to them, the agency is extorting payment of daily fees from their members, ordering fresh registration by every rider. The protest is already crippling economic activities as many are seen stranded without means of transport to places of work. They said the economy is unfavorable and the government is bringing more hardship on them. The state chairman of the Tricycle Riders Association, Umaru Barau, said the protest is illegal as they are not aware of it. And to security matters, the Ogun State Police Command have arrested a suspected kidnapper, Christopher Yaro, said to have allegedly participated in the abduction of two Reverend Fathers for ransom in Pangshin, Plateau State. The spokesperson for the command, Omolola Odutola, said the suspect was nabbed on Monday by police operatives in the Ago Iwoye area of the state. Two Catholic priests, Father Kenneth Kanwa and Father Jude Nwachuku, were reportedly abducted from St. Vincent de Paul Ferrer Parish in the Diocese of Pangshin in Plateau State. The alleged abductors, who were later discovered to be members of the same parish, allegedly demanded 25 million naira ransom from family and other church members to secure the priest's freedom. Speaking on the arrest, Odutola explains that one of the suspects and also a member of the church, Yaro, claimed that he fled Pangshin over fear that members of the community might attack him after they discovered that he was involved in the abduction of the two priests. And now to labor matters. Nurses and midwives in Nigeria have staged a peaceful protest against the new standards for certificate verification laid down by their regulatory body, the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. Aishat Momo has details of the story.
The nurses and midwives on Monday took over the streets of Lagos and Abuja to voice their discontentment in the new certificate regulation guidelines set up by their regulatory body, NMCN. The professionals, while showing their disapproval, mentioned that the new demands by the regulatory body are forms of oppression to nurses. They called on the federal government to open the verification portals without restrictions. They stated that the standards for nurses and midwife certificate verification have been revised in a memo released by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria on February 7, 2024. Saying that the qualified candidates need to have worked as permanent practitioners for at least 2 years after receiving their license to get their verification certificate.
What we are asking is this: remove the verification circular that you have just released, remove it. Employ nurses. Nurses are all over everywhere unemployed. Yes. There is no nurse shortage in Nigeria. Yes. There is no nurse shortage in Nigeria. Yes. There is no nurse shortage in Nigeria. Yes. And I challenge all Nigerians, let them advertise for nurses employment today.
Yes. I hereby plead on behalf of myself and the whole nurses. We want them to withdraw the verification guideline within 48 hours.
We are calling on the NMCA registrar, Nurse Umar Farouk Abubakar, yes, to reverse the new verification guideline. Yes. Instead, Nurse Farouk should work towards proper placement. Yes. For nurses in the federal health system and states in general. Yes.
The processes should be digitalized with immediate effect. Yes. It should be digitalized with immediate effect. Yes. And we are telling you today, if you dare us, we will shut down the healthcare system.
The nurses concluded that if after some weeks there is no positive response from their regulatory body, they would be forced to take their next action, which would include a nationwide strike.
Still in the southwestern part of the country, the Director General of the Oyo State Agency for Persons Living with Disabilities, Ayodele Adekombi, has called on governments at all levels to protect the rights of persons with special needs. Adekombi, who made the call at a meeting in Ibadan, also called on the National Assembly to propose more laws to cater to the welfare of people with disabilities. The agency, which was established less than 6 months ago by Governor Seyi Makinde, is to help ensure that the rights of persons with disabilities are respected and protected, and provide a range of services to help them lead fulfilling lives.
Number one thing, major thing that give us serious problem in the past is the barrier to public building. We have a lot of public building around, including where we are now. For those that are on the wheelchair and those of us that are living with visual impairment to move freely. Our agency has been established by His Excellency to make sure that we'll scrap all the barrier and make all the public buildings, both commercial and government-owned buildings, to make them accessible for persons with disability.
I believe it's time to go all out for the enforcement of 5%. What matters is let our people get what belongs to them, both in private and in public. I will join that crusade so that the position where the special people are supposed to be, we take them there. And as I too observe it, if you go to any public, it will always be difficult. So it's time to implement the bill.
And now to the northwestern part of the country. As part of his administration's effort to tackle the problem of insecurity, Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State has signed the State Security Trust Fund into law. The bill repeals the State Security Trust Fund Law number 22 of 2018. This was disclosed in a statement on Tuesday by the Governor's Chief Press Secretary, Muhammad Shehu. The objectives of the legislation are to provide money for the acquisition and deployment of security equipment, human and financial resources, as shall be necessary for the effective functioning of all federal, state, and local government security agencies working in Kaduna State. Governor Sani explained that part of the security funds will be reserved for the training and retraining of security personnel. The law also established the State Security Trust Fund Board of Trustees, which will be capable of holding, purchasing, and acquiring any property for the trust fund. This is a news update on Trust TV, coming up shortly. Farmers protest over attacks on farmland. More news when we return. Do stay.
Why did you develop this reputation as somebody who is difficult to work with?
I will tell the truth. No matter whose ox is worn, I will say exactly how it is.
This is where I actually sympathize with commissioners of nowadays, where a commissioner sometimes is just a picture. You find somebody, even a cleaner and the governor's wife, can interfere with their abilities.
Even the ministers, there are very many who respected me, simply because I never complained about them. I never went to ask for a favor. Never.
So none of that has happened?
Nothing.
But if it hasn't happened, do you have hope that now another government coming in?
There is no hope.
So you've given up
on
given
politics? I've given up. It's gone, it's gone.
Retrenchment from work is the most hated thing by unions. It's loss of job, means that is loss of life, in fact, for civil servants at that time.
Nigeria's economy, Nigeria's security, Nigeria's intelligence. This is what the materials we were handling. And I thought government would be very interested.
The reasons why you adopted federalism is not because of finesse, not because you like it. It's because of its functional utility.
Welcome back, and thank you most kindly for staying with us. But if you're just joining us, this is the Trust TV News Update. And now let's take a look at a recap of some of our top stories. You heard that federal government finally pays delayed January salaries. PDP governors urge President Tinubu to urgently address insecurity and cost of living crisis. And now moving on to more stories. Access Holdings PLC has announced the appointment of Bolaji Agbede as the acting Group Chief Executive Officer. This follows the death of its former Group Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Herbert Wigwe, in a helicopter crash alongside his wife, son, and the former chairman of the Nigeria Exchange Group, Abimbola Ogunbanjo, on Friday in California, United States. A statement made by the company's board of directors and dated February 12, 2024, stated that the appointment was subject to the approval of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Farmers at Kajola village in Osun State have called on the state government to rescue them from herdsmen destroying their farms. 3 operatives of the Osun State Command of Western Nigeria Security Network, codenamed Operation Amotekun, sustained serious injuries during a gun duel with armed herdsmen at the village at the weekend. Trust TV's Hamido Yogbade reports.
The problem of incessant clashes between farmers and herdsmen is rampant in Osun State over the years. During the peaceful protests on Sunday, the farmers at Kajola village said their farms were burnt down by armed herdsmen. The farmers said the herdsmen also attacked the operatives of the Western Nigerian Security Network, also known as Amotekun.
Fulani people, they set fire on our crops, cocoa farm. So we are there trying to quench the fire when the Amotekun people came. So they came, they backed us. In the process of quenching the fire, then we just heard the voice of the Fulani people with their cow. So the Amotekun went there to go and challenge them. Then they opened fire on the Amotekun people.
3 members of the Amotekun Corps deployed to the village to rescue the farmers were also attacked by the herdsmen.
We moved to the cassava farm. They have destroyed the cassava farm. When we get there, they speak to their cow. Their cow face us. Then they face us with gun. They started fire us, and they ran away. When they are firing us, with their cow attack my people, and me, even me, you can see.
The farmers expressed gratitude to the Osun State Command of the Amotekun Corps for the prompt response when they called for help. Amid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
In business, there appears to be no end in sight to the lingering foreign exchange crisis as dollar crossed over 1,500 naira at the official market. The dollar closed at 1,534 naira 39 kobo at the official market on Monday, according to the FMDQ data. This is the first time the dollar would be exchanging at over 1,500 naira since the crisis, putting more pressure on businesses and importers. This is despite the several measures and interventions by the Central Bank of Nigeria aimed at stabilizing the market. However, local currency has defied all the interventions and continues to depreciate against the foreign currency. Already, the impact of this could be felt in several sectors, with Nigerians experiencing alarming inflation and increased food prices. Despite the dollar exchanging at 1,534 naira at the official market, it has stabilized at the unofficial parallel market, exchanging between 1,450 naira and 1,500 naira. We'll take it away from Nigeria now. The head of the military junta in Niger Republic, General Abdurrahmani Tichani, has vowed that none of the 3 Sahel countries would rejoin the regional bloc economic community of West African states. General Tichani made the vow in an interview he granted to RTN news channel in capital Niamey Monday. The military regime in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, January 28, announced their immediate withdrawal from the West African bloc, ECOWAS. The leaders of the 3 Sahel nations issued a statement saying it was a sovereign decision to leave the economic community of West African states without delay. He said just because the 3 countries are members of the bloc, food and medicine supply was cut off. Power was also cut off, and their financial resources have been frozen. General Tichani further said the tripartite group consulted international friends in the Sahel on exiting the bloc to better the life of our citizens. Responding on the consequences of its withdrawal on security, trade and socio-economic activities, he said, now the world is a global village, saying God will feed every human he created. Still on the foreign scene, Liberia's new defense minister on Monday resigned from his post just 10 days after being appointed, following a protest by soldiers' wives. The resignation marks the first political crisis facing Liberia's new president, Joseph Boakai, since his inauguration at the end of January. The president, after accepting his letter of resignation, swiftly announced a provisional replacement, naming General Geraldine Janet Judge to the key post. And lastly, in sports, residents of Owerri, the Imo State capital, have been reacting to the final of the just concluded African Cup of Nations, where Nigeria's Super Eagles lost to the Elephants of Ivory Coast. Speaking with Trust TV News in Owerri, the state capital, most of the respondents insisted that Nigeria had the opportunity to win the match, but failed to utilize it. Trust TV's Ajibade Praise tells us more.
For many of the residents who had anticipated that the Eagles will win the finals, their hopes were dashed, as they won't see the cup come to Nigeria at this time. A win, others said, would have given Nigerians something to cheer about in the face of a biting economy, but sadly, it never came.
The last match that saw us to the final, you saw that our goalkeeper won the man of the match, having been able to, catch 2 penalty kicks. So he tried, but I learned that in the final, somehow the boys, they did not perform that very well. It seems as if that spirit, that winning spirit that was with them, somehow left them somehow.
We find out that the pressure was so much on them, and you still went on to bring attackers and all this instead of consolidating on the defense. You find out that the midfield have collapsed, and the pressure was so much on the defense. I didn't do anything about it, so it was a failure from the coach, totally.
Alluding to the fact that the Ivorians who hosted the tournament played with a more determined mindset to win, some of the residents say some players used by the coach to start the match were not in their best form, maintaining that there were better options which the coach, for reasons best known to him, decided to keep on the bench.
In calling Nwabali, he did play a huge role, and every other person in that team, even some persons that never got to kick the ball. Someone like Ahmed Musa was also very, very critical in the team, even when he didn't come out to the field of play. So for me, yes, it's a silver, but at least a whole lot of people left at the knockout stage. and we got to clinch the second position. It's still fair enough.
And I also think that the coach didn't do well in terms of his substitution. If you watch our previous matches, we were playing three-man attack with the likes of Lookman, Osimhen, and Moses Simon. But he brought in the ineffective Chukwueze, who has not been at his best in this very tournament.
Though there is consolation in the fact that Nigeria took second position in the competition, many Nigerians still believe it would have been more dignifying if they won the gold and solidified Nigeria's position as the giant of Africa. They are, however, hopeful that such opportunity will present itself in the not-too-distant future. Ajibade Praise, Trust TV News, Owerri.
Well, there you have it, and that brings us to the end of the news update at this hour. But remember, you can always follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentary. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for your time. Join us again.